Good morning and happy Tuesday. It is Monday, but I know you'll be watching this on Tuesday. So yesterday, which was Sunday, I got a 20-mile long run in the SC Elite V4 here. This is New Balance's top tier marathon racing shoe. And it was fun. It was comfortable. It was cushioned. I threw some threshold miles in there and it responded pretty well. Now, a main comparison I've been asked to do on the channel is looking at this guy here, the SC Elite V4, against another shoe that I've gotten a lot of miles in this block, which is the Saucony Endorphin Pro 4. And actually, I haven't gotten a lot of miles. It's not like I have this at 200, but I've gotten a lot of important miles in this shoe. And that's because I did the marathon time trial. So not an all-out marathon race, but a 85, 95, or 90% effort, just cruising in this guy right here. Came in at 255. And again, like the New Balance SC Elite V4, this is a super comfortable shoe. And if we're thinking about all the marathon racing shoes out there, we got the Tier, we got the Brooks. I know no one's going to buy the Brooks on this channel. We got the Adios Pro 3, we got the Vaporfly, we got the Hoka Cielo, we got the Asics hiding in the box over there. I'm trying to keep it special. But these two guys right here are probably the ones that most of you are considering, and I think the Diodora Gara and maybe the Tier as well. So today I want to dive deep into the differences between these two and let you know who should buy each one. And then of course, I'll also highlight a few alternatives if these two aren't going to be the best for your marathon. But two excellent marathon racing shoes, similar weight, similar foams on paper, but the ride gives us a few different things out there when we're pounding the pavement. So I need to get some miles in. You'll be happy to know I'm doing it in your favorite shoe, the Super Blast, and then we'll come back here and do the full comparison. All right, see you in a bit, guys. All right, guys, so we are outside in the backyard today, another beautiful afternoon, and we got the Pro 4 and the SC Elite V4 lined up here. And on paper, these two are extremely similar. So in the midsole, they're both using PEBA, which is the top marathon racing and in general top foam on the market today. It's what gives the most balance. It's what gives the most energy return. However, key differences here is that the Saucony Endorphin Pro 4, this is using a beaded PEBA compound. So you can see throughout the midsole here, there's all these little beads. It's a little bit easier to see on the bottom. You got these pellets that have been expanded during the manufacturing process. Whereas in the New Balance SC Elite V4 here, it's more of one continuous piece of foam. It almost looks like a supercritical foam. That means gas has been injected into the foam during the manufacturing process to make it a little bit lighter, airier, and bouncier. I'm not sure exactly what the manufacturing process is, but this is also a nice bouncy foam. However, even though they are super similar on paper, out there on the ride, these two foams give a little bit of a different experience. So the key difference is going to come from the stack height. Now, both of these guys are up near 40 millimeters in the heel here, which is the legal limit for marathon racing shoes for elite athletes to run in. That's imposed by World Athletics. So this guy's coming in at 39 or 40 in the heel. Let's call it 39 in the heel, 35 in the forefoot for a 4 millimeter drop. And then if we think about the Endorphin Pro 4 here, you got the same 39, but then we have an 8 millimeter drop. So forefoot is only 31 or 32. So that is a huge difference. You get a 4 millimeter difference in the forefoot. And if we compare the forefoot stack here, you can see the SC Elite is much more cushioned and we get a lot more foam. Specifically, if you take a look at this part of the shoe right here, which I think somewhere around here is where they're measuring the drop, you can see it almost looks like you got full 40 millimeters of stack here, right up at the point where if you are a midfoot to forefoot landing runner, or if you're a heel striker, this is going to be the part where you're really pushing off on the ball of your feet. And so that's a big difference in the foam in the midsole of the SC Elite V4 that really informs the ride of this and what sets this shoe apart from a lot of the other racing shoes on the market. It's a little bit more common to see a racing shoe have a 7 and 8 millimeter drop or even a 6 millimeter drop, but the unique drop of the New Balance SC Elite V4 here gives it almost this flat midsole feeling. And especially on step in, when you put this guy on, you almost feel like you have a completely flat platform until you start running or jogging along. There's a nice slight roll up here. It's definitely not an aggressively rockered shoe. And the Saucony Endorphin Pro 4, it doesn't feel extremely aggressive either, but you can see there's a little bit more, and I don't know about see, but you can feel there's a little bit more of a aggressive rocker here on this shoe than the SC Elite V4, and that's what Saucony is known for. on these racing shoes and their fast training shoes, the Speed Roll technology. They're one of the first brands to really popularize having these curved bottoms on shoes with the Endorphin series, and this is the Pro, which is their racing version. They also have the Endorphin Speed, which is their training version. Difference between Speed and Pro, this guy has a carbon fiber plate, so we are seeing that full plate in the midsole here. Same thing in the New Balance SC Elite V4, you also get the carbon fiber plate. Now, again, one of the reasons why I wanted to do this comparison is because even though both of these shoes are full carbon fiber plated shoes with that 100% PEBA midsole, they're a little bit friendlier, the ride of them, than most of the racing shoes on the market. Neither of them feels too harsh. Neither of them feels too aggressive. And of all the probably dozen racing shoes that I've tried this year, these two feel the most similar to training shoes. And so if we head up to the upper, that comfortable, more training style is also reflected in what we're getting in the upper of these shoes. So Saucony Endorphin Pro 4 here, we have a little bit of padding around the back. It's nothing too crazy. And then not a super structured heel counter, but you got a little bit of structure here. You can see I can push it down, but we do have some sort of supportive piece here. And then the real winner and what sets this shoe apart, and what I think this is my favorite part about the shoe, is this one-piece upper with the built-in tongue. It's really cool. It reminds me of the old Nike free run shoes. It reminds me of almost a lifestyle shoe, but this thing is not a lifestyle shoe. It can perform. And then little cool Easter egg here. You can flip this part up and down here. And so that's going to give a really comfortable fit on the upper. Also a little bit more stretch. So if you have a higher volume foot, it can fit. And another reason I wanted to do this comparison is because I have a friend, Jessica, who ran a 3:11 marathon in a pair of Brooks Glycerins fueled by dates. And I was telling her, if we get you onto some Morton, and if we get you one of these shoes, I think you could break 3 hours. So the Pro 4, she was telling me she has a wider foot, and I'm not sure if the Pro 4 would fit her foot. But if you do have a wider foot or a higher volume foot, the Pro 4 might be a little bit better than other Saucony shoes because of how they've designed this upper here. It still does have a little bit of a narrow fit on this part, and I will get these both on foot at the end and do a little fit and feel comparison for you wide-footed friends out there, but a little bit friendlier than some other shoes that I've tried from Saucony. You can see though, if we compare these two toe boxes, New Balance is going to give you a little bit more width. The New Balance is a half a size bigger, but even in the same size, even in a half a size smaller here, I do have a size 10 of this shoe as well that I tried, and it had enough room width-wise in the toe box. So the toe box winning goes to SC Elite. That makes no sense. The SC Elite V4 has a wider toe box. I don't know why I try to complicate things sometimes. And the Saucony has a narrower toe box, although a little bit friendlier than other Saucony shoes. Now, for the general upper of the SC Elite V4 here, again, they've gone with a more training style upper. This is a little bit more padded than some other race shoes I've tried. It's definitely not super minimalist, and a way more structured heel counter in the back. So this should be a good lockdown for all you guys out there who need that extra support out there on the heel. And then we do have a gusseted tongue, I believe. Let me check for this gusset. Sorry, no gusset, but we do have cool text printed on the tongue, fueled for race day. I found this out yesterday. So no gusset, but a lot of these brands who don't put the gusset, this is the same thing with the ASICS shoe that we tried recently. They have this little lace pass through. I haven't had any issues with the tongue of the shoe. My only issue is that these laces are flopping out everywhere as I'm trying to do this comparison. Other than that, let me get the laces back inside. But other than that, the material is super lightweight on this New Balance. I really like the material of this upper. It's very breathable, and because you get more room, you're not going to have any issues with it feeling too tight or constraining your foot. For the laces, I do think that we see a little bit better laces on the Saucony. They're just a touch stretchier. These guys are okay, not my favorite laces, but I haven't had any issues with them coming untied. I just wish all brands would switch over to those Vaporfly 2 style laces, but both of these laces are more traditional style. Sauconys are a little bit softer and stretchier. The New Balances are a little bit more rigid and narrow. Now, as for the ride of these two shoes, and this is going to be the most important thing that will help you decide which one of these you want, the main difference again is going to be that forefoot foam. And what we're getting in the New Balance SC Elite V4 here with this 4mm drop means that the ride of this feels extremely cushioned. And while all marathon racing shoes on the market today have that 40mm or more heel stack here, some brands do creative things to get around that. They, like Mizuno and Hoka in their shoes, they do some little trickery with how the foam is measured to get above 40mm back here. But both of these guys do have 40 millimeters as measured by Running Warehouse, which does all these measurements independently. But with the 4 millimeter drop on this guy, that means you're getting, say, 35 millimeters up in the forefoot here. So that means you feel very protected, very cushioned, extremely muted ride. And so if you like the feeling of gripping the ground, if you like feeling a little bit more connected when you're running fast and like you have a little bit more control over the shoe, the New Balance SC Elite V4 isn't going to be the best choice for you. This is the shoe to get if you like having that super numbed out ride. If you love max cushion shoes, if you like shoes like the Super Blast, the Glycerin, the 1080 V13, if you like training in super protective shoes, you might like racing in this guy. Now the Saucony, again, this isn't the most aggressive racing shoe on the market here. Very comfortable ride. What I loved about the shoe is that the foam felt so soft, so forgiving, and at any pace that I ran in the shoe, it felt like it could handle that well and almost felt like a daily trainer. It felt like an everyday running shoe when I was running at my everyday running paces. And then as I picked it up, because I did that 26.2 mile long run in the shoe and I finished around a target marathon pace or maybe even faster, as I picked it up, it responded pretty well. And so not the most aggressive shoe, not as fast feeling as a Vaporfly or an Asics Metaspeed Sky Paris. There's a lot of words in those Asics shoes, but the power on PB here is nice. And one thing I should mention is Saucony did add a little bit of power on HG, which is their top tier supercritical racing foam, also a PEBA compound. And so that changes the ride up in here a little bit from the Pro 3, but super comfortable. And I felt a little bit more in control of the shoe. I felt like I had a little bit more connection to the experience of running fast, whereas in the SC Elite V4 here, felt like the shoe was just bouncing and bopping me along and I was completely disconnected from the ride experience. So a little bit more connection to the ground, very numb, very disconnected from that fast running experience. Now, when it comes to stability, I know that's something that's important to a lot of us out there. If we take a look at the back of both of these shoes here, you will see that the SC Elite V4 is a touch wider and it wraps the foam up the sides a little bit more. So that's going to lock the foot in place. And the SC Elite V4 is one of the best stable racing shoes, probably one of the best just stable shoes in general that I've tried. And the Saucony Endorphin Pro 4 here is actually a little bit weak when it comes to stability. I felt that my foot was hanging off the platform a little bit. And because what they've done with this foam here, they've contoured it in this kind of an odd way, and they don't wrap the foam up the sidewalls. It can give you the sensation when you step in the shoe, it can give you the feeling that you're sitting on top of the shoe and not in the shoe. And so at certain paces, the heel can feel a little bit weird. Someone actually mentioned earlier today that they felt that the heel was firm, and I'm not sure if it feels firm to me. Feels like a very soft, forgiving shoe, but it feels odd for sure. So if you need a lot of stability and you're planning on running a 3:30 plus marathon, I don't think the Pro 4 out of these two shoes is going to be the best one for you. SC Elite V4 is much better when it comes to stability, and there's no weirdness with the heel fit. That's probably the biggest downside of this shoe that I experience, just a little bit of that weird, not locked in feeling out in the back at certain paces. Now, when it comes to the outsole rubber here, I haven't taken the SC Elite V4 on any serious wet weather expeditions, but I did take the New Balance Rebel V4 out for some super rainy runs, and I believe it is the same rubber compound across both of those shoes. I could not get that confirmed by New Balance. I did ask them about the rubber and did not hear back. So I'll try to confirm that and leave a little note up in the corner where I usually leave notes for you guys. But I do have to say Rebel V4 rubber was solid, tier 2, not the best rubber, not the worst rubber, but decent performance. Let's take a look at the wear here. So this doesn't have too many miles on it. It is smoothing out a little bit. I have to say my Rebel V4 is holding up pretty well through 100 miles. So I think this is going to be a fairly durable marathon racing shoe, especially because this foam here did take some miles, a lot of you runners have reported, to break in, and a little bit on the firmer, more structured side to me. And when I say firmer, I don't know if that's exactly the right word with this shoe, but it doesn't feel like I'm sinking in a ton because there's so much of this foam here. So I think this shoe, you're going to get a ton of miles out of it. We also got lots of rubber coverage, which is great. And they wrapped the rubber all the way up the back of the shoe to protect the foam in the back here if you are a heel striker. Now, for the Saucony Endorphin Pro 4 here, I was extremely impressed by the rubber that we're seeing on this shoe. They added some rubber to it, and they also changed up the pattern from the Pro 3. They went with this more lattice work vibe, which is really cool, and it performed amazingly. When I did that marathon time trial, it was raining and pouring, and I was just cruising up hills, down hills, cornering. This thing handled it beautifully. Tier 2 rubber for sure, only behind Puma and Adidas. I would put this in the third position out of all the rubber from all the brands right now. And with durability, I think it's going to be solid. Not the best when it comes for durability, and this has about 50 miles on it. We don't see that much wear. My Saucony Endorphin Speed 4 has about 100, and the wear is, again, okay. So I think you'll get this to 300 miles, no problem. Same thing that I got my Pro 3 to. Beyond that, I'm not really sure, but once we get these racing shoes to that mileage mark anyway, it's probably time for a new shoe. That tends to be the time where a lot of these start losing some of their luster, but should be a durable shoe. If you're looking at durability between these two, I think they're going to be pretty similar. And especially if we're thinking about them within the broader context of the market, because both of them have good rubber coverage and especially wrap it down the back here. Pro 4 is a little bit worse, but compared to Asics, compared to Nike, compared to Hoka, these are going to be a lot more durable than any of these other brands. So if that is a consideration for you, something durable, something comfortable for training, you're in the right place. Either of these would be good options. All right, guys, now when it comes to who these two are best for, I think 95% of runners would enjoy the ride experience of both of these shoes. They're both friendly. There's no weirdness going on with the ride of either of them other than a little bit of that heel narrowness on the Pro 4. There's nothing offensive about the ride of either of these shoes. It's going to come down to which one is most optimal for you. So Pro 4 for me felt a little bit softer, a little bit more forgiving. It also has a little bit more of that rolling experience up in the forefoot, and I think feels a little bit of a faster shoe for me because it's not necessarily that the shoe is giving me a ton of speed assistance, but when I want to run fast, the shoe complies with that will. Whereas in the New Balance SC Elite V4 here, it felt like I really needed to put something into the shoe to get something out of it. It's because we get so much cushion in the forefoot here. At times, it could feel a little bit like that Super Blast or Gel Nimbus where I'm fighting against the foam just a tiny bit. And so with this shoe here, I think it's going to be most optimal. And I said this in my 20-mile long run review. I think it's going to be most optimal for you if three things. If you have a wider foot and you need that width, this is probably the best racing shoe on the market. There's no other carbon fiber plated marathon racing shoe with 100% PEBA midsole that's going to give you this much bounce, this much pop, this much fun. That's also going to fit a wide foot really well. So that's number one. Number two, if you are a bigger runner and can put some force down into this massive stack of foam to activate it, I think this is going to work really well for you. For me, with this shoe, I felt like I needed to be running at 5-minute paces, low 6-minute paces to really be getting a lot of that pop back. At slower paces than that, even at 6'2", 160 pounds, it didn't feel like I was getting the most benefit out of the shoe. It felt like I would be more efficient in another shoe. And when I say more efficient, that means it felt like I would be running a little bit faster with the same effort in a different shoe because of how much foam is here. And so the foam for some runners in the shoe, I think with such a high stack in the forefoot, is going to feel a little bit like overkill. So if you're a lower cadence runner, maybe your cadence is below 170 at marathon pace, or if you consider yourself a bigger runner and like more stack, this is going to be a good shoe for you. And then number three, if you want a lot of stability, this thing is a stable crushing cruiser. This is going to be a good shoe for you. I would have a hard time seeing anybody find this shoe unstable. I think even the most aggressive overpronator would find this a good stable racing option compared to a lot of what's on the market, because not only do you have the carbon fiber plate stabilizing the shoe, it feels like the plate is pretty far up. Just looking down here, you can see it feels like the plate is pretty far up towards the foot, so you're not going to get a ton of squishy foam up near the ankle, and you get that nice wrapping effect to lock the ankle down in place, plus that wider base. So if you have a wider foot, if you're a bigger runner, or you need stability, SC Elite V4 is your ticket to a marathon PR. Actually, I'm not going to promise a marathon PR, but this would be a good shoe for you. Now, to the Pro 4. This is the shoe that I would recommend as the default marathon racing shoe still. I was a little bit uncertain when it first came into the office whether or not I would still be recommending this after I recommended the Pro 3 as that #1 hobby jogger, recreational running, marathon racing shoe. But this thing is still king for me when it comes to that department. It is extremely comfortable. And when we're thinking about a distance racing shoe, what's important, you want it to be comfortable past the 20-mile mark, and you want it to feel like you can run fast throughout your race paces, not necessarily down to 5K pace, but everyday running pace, steady zone, so a little bit slower than marathon pace. And then marathon pace, this shoe checked all the boxes for me. It's not overly aggressive, and that's probably why I'm not going to use it for my marathon. I think I want something a little bit more aggressive, but this is a safe option. I would have a hard time finding anybody who didn't enjoy running in the shoe, and it would make a really enjoyable marathon experience for anybody out there. Now, who should not buy this shoe? If the toe box is going to be too narrow for you, then you'll definitely want to stay away from the shoe. Also, if you need a lot of heel stability support, this shoe is not going to be for you. I'll pop them on in a second so we can see that comparison, but just know this is a little bit of a narrower heel, can be a weirder fit. Other than that, I think the shoe is a great choice for most people, and between these two shoes, I would recommend the Pro 4 to the masses. Again, those 3 criteria: wider foot, bigger runner, or you like more cushion foam, or you need stability. That's SC Elite V4. Everybody else, I would go for the Saucony Endorphin Pro 4 here. So I'm gonna pop these two on so you can see how they feel on foot. And then I'm gonna go inside and give you a few alternatives to these shoes, especially for runners who want something a little bit more aggressive. No matter your race pace, these are both a little bit more conservative, friendly, comfortable options. So I'll go in there and highlight a few different options for runners across the spectrum who want something a tiny bit more aggressive. Also, I should mention, Pro 4, $225. So a little bit better value shoe, considering that I think we'll get the same durability out of these two guys. All right, so I'm gonna pop these two guys on to do a fit and feel test for you. SC Elite V4, again, is a size 11, so we got half a size bigger. I also am wearing my Darn Tough wool socks, which are a little bit bigger than my normal everyday running socks. But even in the size 11, the upper in the SC Elite V4 is high volume. This is a comfortable fit. I think most people are gonna find this shoe is a nice lockdown, and just stepping in here, the heel is so wide. It feels like a normal running shoe with just a little bit more stack. So I feel it high off the ground, man. Let's see. And it's always interesting because I know Running Warehouse standardizes the measurements, but some of these shoes, even if they're measured to be the same, just feel like one is a little bit taller. And let's see. Yeah, so the Saucony upper here feels a little bit lower volume but stretchier. And again, we got a half size difference. But even in the size 10, the upper throughout the midfoot of the New Balance SC Elite felt a little bit higher volume. So New Balance here, higher volume. Saucony, a little bit lower volume but stretchier. Laces on the Saucony are also stretchier. And let's see. Man, after lacing up the Saucony here, the Saucony is the one that feels more like a normal running shoe. The New Balance feels really high. Let's do a little walk test. All right, guys, doing a little walk here. And yeah, the heel of the New Balance here just feels so much more cushioned and so much wider. That's really the key difference here. Also, I told myself I was going to make a short and simple video today. I don't think I can help myself. All right, guys, quick jog test between Saucony Endorphin Pro 4, New Balance SC Elite V4. One jog, everybody knows the rules.
Muffin on the track.
Man, I'm in the full gilet hoodie and Lululemon pants, but we got the jog in. So Saucony Endorphin Pro 4 here. This guy feels like it puts me up on my toes way more with this rocker and really wants me to land up here, which is a nice feeling. Whereas the SC Elite V4, and it's funny because this is a lower drop shoe. We traditionally think of lower drop shoes as being better for forefoot strikers, but this guy felt like it wanted me to land on the heel, and you just got so much more foam out here on the back of the heel. And that's really the difference of these shoes. A lot more foam in general, just all around in the SC Elite V4. So again, if you want that foam and cushion, it's going to be the SC Elite V4. If you want a ride that's a little bit faster, a little bit more of a rolling through experience, also makes you feel more in control of the ride, I would go for the Saucony Endorphin Pro 4. All right, let's go inside and do some alternatives to these guys. One more note. I feel like I could run, or not run, I feel like I could stand on my feet all day in the SC Elite V4. This is a super comfortable shoe. All right, guys, putting these two shoes back. Now let's talk about some alternatives. All right, alternative number one. If you want the stability of the New Balance SC Elite, but want a little bit more of that rolling rocker feeling of the Endorphin Pro 4, I would check out the Tier Valkyrie Elite Carbon. So this is a very flat shoe through the back to midfoot with a super aggressive rocker up at the front. It's designed especially for forefoot strikers. They also give it a little bit more support and stability out back. And Tier is a newer brand to the racing space. I really enjoyed the shoe. Remind me a lot of the Saucony Endorphin Pro 3. Where is that? Yeah, it reminded me a lot of this shoe, but just maybe even a little bit more aggressive. And they use the similar foam here. So Launch PX from Tier. This is also a beaded PEBA, like what we see in that Saucony Endorphin Pro 4. So this is a fun shoe. I ran a 22-mile long run with some serious race pace threshold in there. Definitely a more aggressive option than either of these shoes, especially the New Balance SC Elite V4. It's not going to be as comfortable for heel strikers, but if you're a forefoot striker and want stability, this is your ticket. All right, next, if you want that super cushioned feeling of the New Balance, but you want a little bit more of a rolling, rockered, fun ride versus just the super comfortable ride, I would check out the Hoka Cielo X1. So this is the one of the shoes that I mentioned where they use some creativity to get around the rules that the compliance managers over at the World Athletics Association put together. So you get 40 millimeters, just if you measure it right at the back here, and World Athletics takes the measurement 12.5% from the back. I learned this from Running Warehouse. So where you're actually going to be landing closer to this midfoot, you get 46 millimeters of foam. So this has a ton of foam. It also comes at a little bit of a heavier weight than any of the other racing shoes, but it's worth it for me because you get so much bounce, so much cushion and comfort, and it's a shoe that defies some of the rules, some of the trade-offs that we think about when thinking about the running shoes. So even though it's not light, it's very fast because of how much bounce you get. And you also get a ton of this rock and roll in the front because of how curved this platform is. So if you want a cushion, comfortable shoe, but you don't necessarily want it to be super stable, planted, you want a little bit more fun, I would go for the Hoka here. The stability is okay. It is a wider base, but it's not going to be great for heel strikers because unless you're landing up at the midfoot or forefoot, sometimes you can feel like you're fighting against the foam in the middle here and trying to get over the hump. So this one is going to be best for midfoot to forefoot strikers who want a fun but cushioned ride. Now my last recommendation is if you want something super comfortable, has that rolling experience, but maybe a little bit better for training and not also as expensive as these two, even though this is the most affordable marathon racing shoe, I would check out this guy here, the New Balance SC Trainer V2. So this uses New Balance's fuel cell foam, which is, they call this guy fuel cell 2, but this is the old generation and it's more of a training style foam. It's a blend of EVA and TPU. It is super bouncy, super soft, one of the most comfortable, I think softest foams out there. Charlie and I did this test the other night. She's been wearing the Topo Atmos and she says that's the softest foam that she's ever tried in there. Then she also tried this one and she tried on basically everything else in here too, and she said this was the softest one other than the Topo Atmos. So if you want something super comfortable, even more comfortable than the Pro 3 or the SC Elite V4, maybe you're racing a 4-hour marathon, I would go for the New Balance SC Elite V4 here. Super comfortable shoe. It's got a nice rolling rocker here. It's got a decently roomy fit here. Nice padding in the back. One of my favorite shoes for 2+ hour long runs. So there you have it, guys. Those would be the alternatives. Hoka Cielo X1, New Balance SC Trainer V2, and Tier Valkyrie Elite. I didn't do those in order, but yeah, those would be the alternatives. And let me give one more actually. It's in the secret box. So this one is going to come with a little bit of an asterisk because I don't have a ton of miles in this shoe yet. But if you like the idea of the SC Elite V4 and the Saucony Endorphin Pro 4, but how I've described them does not sound aggressive and fast enough for you, maybe you're targeting a sub 3 hours, sub 250 marathon, you want something a little bit lighter weight, you've tried the Vaporfly, but this is too light or not enough cushion, man, the Asics Metaspeed Sky Paris, this thing is killer. I got in one of my best runs in this shoe. It just feels fast out of the box. This FF Turbo Plus foam is the perfect amount of bouncy and cushion. It wasn't too dense like the SC Elite V4 foam or the Pro 3 foam. Not necessarily that those foams are too dense, but it wasn't as dense as those foams. It wasn't as light as a foam like the Zoom X and the Vaporfly. And the geometry up here just worked for me. They also have a sister shoe to this, the Edge Paris, which I'll be testing soon. But this is one of the best aggressive marathon racers that I've tried. It's going to be a lot narrower in the heel and the midfoot than either of the shoes that we've been talking about today, so not a good option if you need stability. But if you want something fast for an all-out assault on a marathon or a half marathon, this guy is your ticket. All right, guys, let's put this back in the box. We will be doing more with this shoe soon, but as always, thank you for watching. Let me know which one of these two shoes, Pro or SC Elite V4, you think you'll be picking up. I appreciate you guys, and I'll be back tomorrow with another video.